The newest Splunk app for Palo Alto Networks is significantly different to previous versions, containing different dashboards and workflows to solve new use cases. The reason for the change was to optimize common workflows for security analysts and engineers. Previous versions of the app included dashboards for each Palo Alto Network event type. There were areas where deep event analysis was done, but in 6.0 this has been amplified. And where these results are bubbled up, they are enhanced with advanced dashboards to help investigators gather context and understanding quickly and simply. In this demonstration, we are going to provide an overview of the app and then spend most of the time focusing on how the new features in 6.0 simplify incident investigation. There are three separate areas of operation. The activity menu identifies just that, activity in your environment. For example, Global Protect data is highlighted, showing user connections over time and where those connections are originating. Threats are things which are generally bad. Notable events are uncovered here, which probably need some investigation. They are split into network, endpoint, and malware. We will be focusing on a few of these dashboards in the demo. Finally, we have the operations menu, which provides dashboards that give us visibility into our system's health. Overall, you can see how this app is targeted at both security personnel and administrators managing Palo Alto Networks environments. Let's highlight some of the new features of the 6.0 app, uncovering threats and investigating them. This dashboard shows all notable security events across all Palo Alto Networks products. Below this are lists of threats happening in the environment over time. They're separated by subtype and severity. And below this is an incident investigation feed. This feed includes notable events uncovered by the app, along with some of the context around them. Security analysts can start here to begin investigating security issues in their environment. Now let's look at capability added in 6.0 for incident investigation. Each incident you see here can be prioritized by sorting over severity and actions taken. This version of the app leverages threat intelligence heavily to add context to findings. The new app includes MineMeld and enhanced AutoFocus integration. In addition, though not shown here, support for Aperture was added. Aperture is Palo Alto Network's SaaS compliance and security product. First, we will sort by AutoFocus tags. AutoFocus is Palo Alto Network's threat intelligence created by their security research team, Unit 42. The app correlates incident logs with AutoFocus indicators of compromise and decorates the logs with AutoFocus metadata. These are the items seen in the environment that we know are bad. We should investigate these first. Of the 4 tagged incidents, 1 is marked critical, but it also shows that it was blocked, meaning either the firewall or Trap's endpoint stopped. But just above this, we have an event that is marked high severity and the action was allowed by the firewall. It has been tagged as WannaCry, so we know this is a bad event. We want to investigate it further. Clicking on it takes us directly to the investigation context view. This dashboard pulls together the context around the incident, including incident details and relevant events associated with it. It was created based on customer feedback. Customers said they would go to specific systems to investigate incidents. They would open up the firewall to look at logs or download PCAPs. They would check endpoint logs, go to VirusTotal, or even open AutoFocus to get more context. This dashboard automates much of this process. Let's go over the panels in the dashboard. Incident Details pulls together the details of the incident from all the data sources in the Palo Alto environment. Events in this incident session includes the events generated from the user's session. Related AutoFocus tags provides additional AutoFocus details. Looking at aliases, tag class, and tag group columns, you can tell this is WannaCry, malware family, and that it's ransomware. The top next-gen firewall rules for IP addresses shows the rules that were triggered on the firewall. Top next-gen firewall reporting incidents for IP addresses are the firewalls on the network where the incident was visible. We can also see the threats by type over time for IP addresses. In the Similar Network Incidents panel, we have looked across the entire network to see if there are similar incidents occurring and where. And lastly, the Similar Endpoint Incidents panel does the same across endpoint logs. As you can see here, we have a few endpoint logs that are showing the file mydocuments.exe blocked by traps. So let's back up a second and think about what we're seeing. We noticed on the previous dashboard that it was a high severity incident and it was allowed. The firewall saw a file being downloaded that it had never seen before, and it was submitted to Wildfire Cloud for dynamic analysis. Wildfire is Palo Alto's malware sandboxing service. It is integrated with firewalls and traps to identify malware within files. It returns a verdict within a minute or two of receiving the file. During this time, the firewall doesn't hold up the file from being downloaded. It allowed it through to the endpoint. The file then tried to execute or install on that endpoint, and Traps detected that it was doing something malicious. So Traps stopped it. Traps then followed up by reporting to Wildfire that this is a malicious file. After a few minutes, Wildfire independently issued a verdict on the file that it was malware. All protections go into place once this is known. It will never be executed by an endpoint or downloaded through the firewall again. Understanding how the Palo Alto Networks platform works and using the distilled views in our investigation, we have a full picture of what happened. Now we can decide if we want to make adjustments in our environment, educate users, or take other steps. If we don't yet have enough information about the kind of malware or the nature of the issue, we have more options to dig in further. The open-in feature is a content-aware menu item. Depending on the context of the incident, you will get different menu items. In this case, we have the ability to cross-launch to VirusTotal to get more information. We can jump to AutoFocus to get more context or click on the search bar to create our own Splunk searches. If a PCAP is available, you will get the ability to download that PCAP directly from here. Note that if we explore further in the AutoFocus portal, when we're done, that portal has the ability to launch us directly back into Splunk right where we started. Everything so far has been very incident-focused. The workflow has been improved by atomizing the threat hunting and investigation process. It's easy to zoom into an issue. The adversary scoreboard is another new dashboard in 6.0. The idea behind the dashboard is to provide a zoomed-out view of what's happening in the environment. The adversary scoreboard gives perspective on the threat actors and campaigns, as well as malware families infecting your environment. At the top, we have the attack lifecycle chart. The advantage we have preventing attacks is that we can stop the attack anywhere along this lifecycle. This is the threat we were just investigating. We can see there are thousands of incidents created for this malware campaign, but only 2 endpoints were affected. Do we have to investigate the thousands of threat endpoints, or just the 2 endpoints? By correlating logs together, the app provides investigators a more reasonable starting point, rather than hunting through the thousands of threat events. In our investigation earlier, we discovered the issue was seen on both the endpoints and the firewall. We also found that it was blocked by traps. We can see that this malware campaign was successfully stopped at stage 2 of the attack lifecycle. It was seen on the firewall and delivered to the endpoint, but when it tried to execute, it was blocked by traps. Therefore, this attack was delivered, but it could not get executed, so it was stopped at stage 2. We also see that the Lotus Blossom threat campaign was seen on the firewall and allowed, but it was not blocked by anything. The attack lifecycle stage shows 2 because we know it was delivered, but after that we don't know what happened. This might be because the endpoint is unmanaged or doesn't have traps installed. We can click on the event to investigate it further. If we do, we're dropped right into the All Incidents dashboard, filtered specifically on this relevant event. We can see this is an email campaign, and it's being generated by a single user. We have the email address of the user. Scrolling down to the incident feed, we can kick off another investigation just like we did before. We know with just a few clicks we can get full visibility into what occurred in our environment. Altogether, the new dashboards and workflows in the 6.0 version of the Palo Alto Networks app for Splunk give us a complete picture quickly and easily. The adversary scoreboard, incident feed, and incident context dashboards bring together everything we need to know within the Palo Alto Networks environment to understand who's attacking us, how they are doing it, and finally, how effective we are defeating the attack. Together, Splunk and Palo Alto Networks raise the bar in security and visibility, making it faster and easier to understand security incidents and stop threats in your environment.